Well, have you ever put your foot in your mouth? I was about 3 or 4 years old at the doctor's office with my mom. And it was a typical quiet doctor's office, everybody kind of minding their own business. And I happened to notice a woman sitting across the room. So I leaned over to my mom in a voice that was not a whisper. And I said, "Mom, that lady has really big..." I'm going to let you use your imagination to complete that sentence, but I can tell you that my mom whipped her hand around my mouth so fast, she didn't get there quick enough. I said what I wanted to say, and she was so embarrassed. And it's funny when kids say that, right? Kids have no filter. It's hilarious, unless you're the parent, and then it's terrifying, right? Kids say whatever they are thinking. But as adults, we grow up, and things like that, not so funny anymore. Because we start to realize that our words, they carry a weight. And here's how I know this. There was something that was said either to you or about you years ago that you still remember, that you're carrying right here, because it mattered. And the Bible has so much to say about the power of our words. I mean, we read back in Genesis that God literally spoke the world into existence. And throughout the Old Testament, God would send his prophets to speak words of encouragement and warnings to his people. Jesus, so many of his miracles were done just with the power of his words. He healed people. He calmed the storm. He even raised the dead to life, all with the power of his words. From the very beginning, God intended for our words to matter. And one of my favorite verses that speaks about this is Proverbs 18:21. And it says that the tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. And as someone who loves to talk, I'm familiar with what this looks like. When we hear the word consequences, we typically think of something negative, right? And certainly there are negative ways that we can use our words. I mean, this is when we hurt people, destroy reputations. I mean, this is the tough stuff. But consequences can also be good. We call those gifts or rewards. And that is when we say the right thing at the right time to the right person. That's when our words bring hope and healing, peace, life, adventure to those we love. So if we understand that our words, they carry weight, why do we put our foot in our mouth? I mean, why do we say these things that we end up regretting? I believe Jesus gives us the answer. In the book of Luke, he says that whatever you say flows from what's in your heart, which means that whatever's going on in here is going to come right out here. For me, maybe for you too, I have found that if I'm feeling either overwhelmed, insignificant, or hurt, I'm going to be tempted to say something that I end up regretting. And so overwhelmed, maybe for you this looks like a work deadline that is just stressing you out. Or maybe things at home are crazy. I know for us, we have a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old at home. So our home is exciting, right? Crazy. And there are these hours between like 5:30 at night and 8:30 at night. Absolute chaos. I mean, it's getting home from work, it's dinner, it's dishes, it's bath time, it's bedtime. It feels like everything has to happen at the same time. And pretty soon, I'm overwhelmed. And I'm tempted to say something to my husband or to my kids that I end up regretting. Because when we're overwhelmed, we're quick to grumble, complain, maybe compare our situation to somebody else's. We are tempted to say something that we're going to regret when we're feeling overwhelmed and when we're feeling insignificant. Maybe for you, this looks like not getting that work promotion. Or maybe you don't get invited to the party. Or ladies, this is when we're having a terrible hair day, right? And everybody around us looks gorgeous. It's in these moments when we're tempted to gossip, maybe to make ourselves feel a little better. Or maybe you want to try to be the funny one at work, and so you decide to share a story. And then as you're talking and you're reading the room, you realize that what you're saying is like a definite overshare. Anybody been there? Right? And then you drive home with vulnerability hangover. You're like, why did I say that? We're tempted to say something that we're going to regret when we're feeling overwhelmed, insignificant, and hurt. And this hurt, maybe it comes from an old wound that's kind of resurfacing, or maybe something fresh is done to you. But when we're hurt, we are quick to respond with a bitterness, or maybe a sarcastic comment that's not so funny. So we need to check our heart, which leads us to our bottom line today. Because your words carry weight, choose to wait. Choose to wait. Maybe for you, this looks like just sleeping on it for 24 hours. Maybe it means processing how you're feeling with a family member or a friend. Maybe it means praying about it. But choosing to wait, it's going to keep us from saying something that we're going to regret. And it gives us the opportunity to say something that speaks life and adventure into those we love. You know, some of you teachers out there, you might be familiar with the THINK acronym. And this is a tool that's used in schools to really coach this idea with kids, to help them to think before they speak. And if you've spent any amount of time on social media, you know that as adults, we could benefit from this too. So this THINK acronym, it helps us to stop and think and ask ourselves these questions. Before I say this, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Because if it's not one of those things, then we either probably shouldn't say it, or we need to find a better way to say it. And you know, this doesn't mean that we should shy away from tough conversations. I mean, you're going to need to talk to that employee Monday morning, right? You should talk with your spouse about something that's bothering you. I mean, that's good, and it's healthy for our relationships. We just need to have those conversations in the right way. Maybe you're sitting out there going, okay, well then last week, yesterday, this morning, I totally blew it, right? Maybe a conversation is coming to mind. That's okay. Make a note of it, write it down, go to the person and make it right. Ask for forgiveness. There's grace there. You know, my husband, he was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, and he deployed on 3 different occasions. And I can tell you that during those seasons when he was deployed, we got real intentional with our words. And there was this one time in particular. He was deployed. Actually, I was working somewhere else at the time. I was meeting with a client, and I walk out of that meeting, and my mom is standing in the lobby where I worked. And I was like, Mom, you know, what are you doing here? I was confused. And she looked at me and she said, Sarah, where's your phone? And immediately, I knew something was wrong. And so I rushed to the back, and I grabbed my phone, and my husband, he had been calling me over and over and over again. He was calling his mom. He was calling my mom. He was trying to get a hold of me. And, you know, I couldn't call him back. So I kept my phone on me for the rest of the day. And thankfully, we were able to connect. And when we spoke, he told me that he was getting ready to go on a pretty big mission. A mission where his leadership looked at him and said, you need to call your family before you leave, because we don't know what's coming. And in those last few moments of that phone conversation with him, I was so intentional with my words because I didn't know when, if I would ever speak to him again. And the same is true for you. You don't know. You don't know when your last moments are going to be with your husband, with your wife, with your children, with your friends. So today, choose to wait and let your words be life-giving to those you love. Thanks so much.